Senate Majority Leader Bishop, thank you very much for taking the time and visiting with everybody at Right Michigan today. The big first question, why do you want to be Michigan's next Attorney General?
Well, thanks, Nick. First of all, thank you for all that you do, and you and Right Michigan for keeping people informed and for spreading the conservative message. We appreciate that. I also appreciate the question. It is the most important question. You know, as an elected member of government, I can probably I can't think of any other greater honor than to do what I've done in the past years. I've had 4 great terms in the legislature. I've been proud to represent the community where I was born and raised. I was brought up in a family that believed and encouraged, but just encouraged. They expected that you be involved, that you participate in local government and in government across the board. And so this has been a great, rewarding experience for me to serve in elected government. I love the opportunity to move on and to continue my opportunity to represent. It's been a thrill for me and for my family, frankly. But there's more to it than that. I bring to the table before the public sector, private sector work. I was an attorney before I appeared here in Lansing, before I got involved in elected government. I acquired a lot of great skills and experience in that time. And you know, I've represented the little guy, I've prosecuted the bad guy, I've written the briefs, I've argued the motions, I've been there, done that. And I think that my public experience and my private experience together make me uniquely qualified to do this job. And Nick, I love this job. I love the opportunity to represent people. I love the law. And I know what it's like to defend people. And I know what it's like to ensure that justice is done. This job gives me the opportunity to do all that. And I look forward to being Michigan's Attorney General.
Now, folks have gotten to know you a bit over the past few years. Oakland County obviously knows you very well. But now that you're running statewide, by way of background, can you just fill us in on where you're at on the big issues, the right to life, the Second Amendment, term limits? Do you think they've worked? Things like that.
Sure. On right to life, I believe that my record is beyond reproach. I began my career in grassroots politics. I took on this issue early on against my party's will. I had to stand up to my own party establishment to fight for the right to life. I know what it's like to stand up for that issue. I did it. At my own expense, I was told I'd never be elected to government again, especially not as a Republican, because of my strong stand. And you know what? 4 terms later, and now sitting here as the majority leader, I guess it pays off to do the right thing. And in my career as a legislator, I've done nothing but stand up for life issues. I was the co-chair against Proposal 2, and I got to lead a charge across the state on that subject as well. I know what it's like to stand up for life and for the less vulnerable in our society. And I have a career where I can put a record on the line to show you exactly what I've done. So I'm proud of that fact. I am pro-life. As to the Second Amendment, this is an issue that was important to me from day one. Before I got involved in the legislature, as a gun owner, I went to get my license to carry. And the process that we went through in 1997 was ridiculous. It was arbitrary. It was, in my opinion, unconstitutional. It was one of the reasons why I ran for the legislature in 1998. And when I got here in 1998, my colleagues and I passed the law, the shall issue law. I was an integral part of that. I was co-sponsor of the process. I was there the whole time. It's one of my prouder moments. We now, in the state of Michigan, have a fortified right to keep and bear arms. The Constitution, the Second Amendment, says we have the right to keep and bear arms. Article 1, Section 6 of the Michigan Constitution says we have the right to keep and bear arms in defense of ourselves and our state. And I believe that's a right worth keeping, and I'll do whatever I can to defend that. Now, on the subject of term limits, that's an area that I will tell you that has been bandied about here in Lansing as to whether or not it's a good idea or not. I supported term limits back in the day. I do believe that there is a way to make term limits better, and I supported a proposal that the Senate Republicans put up last term, which would have allowed members to serve a term limit. It keeps the term limits, but it allows them to serve the entire term limit within either chamber, the House or the Senate. In doing that, it allows you to build a continuity of service. It allows you to build relationships and better represent your community. So that's a better way. As also part of that proposal, we had a requirement that if you missed work as a legislator, you didn't get paid. So no work, no pay. And the second amendment that was added to that was to close the revolving door, which is a big problem with term limits. You've got members who know they're only going to be there for a certain amount of time, and so what they do is they set themselves up for the lobbying community right after their work, and you've got this revolving door into the lobbying community. So we prevented that by prohibiting the movement from the public sector into the lobbying community immediately. I think that's the smart thing to do, and it's something I will support in the future. I'd also add that I am the sponsor of a constitutional amendment to change Michigan to a part-time legislature. And part-time pay, shrink all of government. That is the very essence of what we should be doing right now. And in doing that, we could get rid of term limits entirely, because that is a true citizen legislature. And I've been a staunch advocate for the part-time legislature from day one, and I hope that at some point in time we'll have a really good, strong discussion about it.
Everybody that's been paying attention knows where you're at on the tax issue. You voted no on those massive Democratic tax hikes in 2007. I know I, for one, appreciated that. You have taken criticism in some quarters for even allowing a vote, though. Do you regret allowing that vote? And in hindsight, with the state facing a budget deficit that's only ballooning, we learned this week that it could be $2 billion next fiscal year. Would you have done anything differently in hindsight?
Well, first of all, thank you for making the point that I did not vote for those tax increases. I've not voted for a tax increase. I was the staunchest, most I vigorously opposed the tax increases. The governor and I clashed at all levels during that 2007 budget debate. I think everybody knows where I stood on that issue. She was a staunch advocate for them. That was part of her budget proposal. The Senate Republicans put up several options to show the governor you didn't need to raise taxes to balance the budget. She refused. She pushed the envelope. We ended up in a shutdown situation. And a lot of people say, well, why didn't you take it to shutdown? If I had the opportunity to control a vote, I would. But a lot of people don't know that once you have majority members in the Senate to take the vote, I have no control over that vote. They can take that. Majority rules. It's not like the United States Senate where they have some of these filibuster rules and these cloture rules that would allow the leader to prevent a vote. I knew that there were certain my members in the Senate and certain Republican members in the House that supported a portion of what the governor wanted to do. When the vote came through, as long as they had that majority, the best I could do was to put up the best possible Republican plan. I put the cuts and the reforms up, significant reforms, so that I could run that at the same time. And there is no way for a leader to stop any vote if, in fact, it's the will of the masses in a majority rule to move a vote.
Now, the legislature just this month approved the governor's executive order, which cuts this year's deficit by about $300 million. That's only about a fifth of what needs to be done this year. If the governor and the Speaker of the House came to you this year or next year and tell you that they need another tax hike, that it's the only way, there's going to be another shutdown, it's doom and gloom, the only option, is that a discussion you'd be willing to have, or is that a non-starter?
We've already advised the governor. She knows that that's not a discussion we want to have. As you can imagine, though, I have, in the current situation, I have been the recipient of one proposal after the next of tax increase proposals. Everything from, taxing the married to taxing the dead to taxing beer to taxing services, everything you can imagine. We know from 2007, tax increases don't work. We know that tax increases are not the solution to a budget crisis. We don't have a tax problem, we have a spending problem. So our role in the Senate Republican caucus is not to just take a stand of no taxes. That's part of it. But our responsibility is to step up with a solution. And that's what we're going to do. In the coming week, we have an opportunity to meet with the caucus. We're going to come up with a cut proposal and a reform proposal that will put a solution on the table for the governor to consider and for the House to consider that will resolve this budget crisis short of the need of a tax increase. But we can't just sit back and wait for the proposals to come. Republicans can't just stand for no to taxes. We actually have to be the party of ideas and put solutions on the table.